The long-held view that there was little to be gained for archaeology in the mountains of the Alps is now a thing of the past. Today it is clear that in early human history, the Alpine high mountain regions were also visited regularly for hunting, grazing, or the extraction of raw materials when the climate was warm enough. This is because the melting alpine glaciers have been uncovering archaeological sites again and again for a few years now. In the Tyrolean Taschach Valley, for example, the once mighty Taschach Valley glacier has melted so much that there is little left to see. Between 1970 and 1987, it was still growing further down the valley, but now its end is a few hundred meters above its former endpoint. This retreat of the ice has made archaeological investigations possible in places that were previously hidden under meters of ice. Among the artifacts found in the Taschach Valley is a B-17 bomber airplane from the Second World War, which crashed into the glacier in 1944. And archaeologists have already found evidence of human presence from the Middle Stone Age at the entrance to the valley. In the coming years, however, it will probably not only be the Tyrolean glaciers that present further artifacts. Numerous artifacts are also waiting to be discovered under the ice in other places in the Alpine region. There are currently no fewer than 17 glacier sites in Austria alone where archaeological investigations are underway. These include the Tyrolean Taschach Valley and the Pasterze in Carinthia, the largest glacier in the Austrian Alps. You can read about the Pasterze on Wikipedia. Finds of wood and peat released by the glacier between 2009 and 2010 suggest that there was moorland vegetation and pasture land in the area of today's Pasterze between 5000 and 2500 BC. An analysis by the University of Innsbruck was able to detect pollen from grasses and gentian, and animal fecal traces prove that grazing areas were used for livestock farming. Back in 1990, various wood trunk remains were discovered that belonged to a 300-year-old stone pine tree that grew on the Pasterze more than 9,000 years ago. And in autumn 2014, for the first time, large pieces of tree from glacial slope sediments in the glacier forefield were uncovered. In terms of size, they far surpass previous finds and are impressive evidence of the former tree population. Initial analysis by scientists from the universities of Graz and Innsbruck revealed an age of around 6,000 years. All these finds prove that in the areas where for centuries there was only ice and snow, there were once old and sometimes tall stone pine trees. The name Pasterze indicates vegetation and also the use as pasture land. An ancient folk tale tells how it was back in those days. The Pasterze area used to be a very fertile valley where the inhabitants lived in prosperity and abundance. However, they became lazy and arrogant and no longer looked after their cattle. Already in the morning, the musicians would play for the dance, and instead of milking cows and making hay, the people would lie in the meadow, drink and enjoy themselves. This enraged the spirits of the mountains. They gathered clouds around the summit of the Grossglockner, piled up hail and ice, then sent a storm that covered the mountain pasture with ice and snow. Meters of snow buried houses, animals, and people underneath. Since that time, the Pasterze has been a glacier. Only its name still hints at the fertile mountain pasture it once was.